Pittsburgh Yards, connecting tenants and members with workshops and other sessions and opportunities for you guys to be able to not only scale your skills, but scale your businesses as well. So today we have a really, really great event. This is actually a friend of mine, David Walker. He is the good news attorney of Atlanta. Always here making sure he meets people with good news, not bad news. I know you always hear lawyers, it's like, oh no, trouble. But I swear this guy, he's bringing us great information, and especially when it comes to equity crowdfunding, which is, I know everyone's trying to get their crowdfunding campaigns. How do I get this money? How do I get investors to look at me and want to put their big bucks into my company? So today we're going to be talking about equity crowdfunding. It's going to be interactive, it's going to be fun, but also guys, make sure, do not leave any questions in your head, all right? Typically, David Walker, this is $450 just to sit down and speak with him for an hour. You're getting this all for free, and you're getting this information, and he's here for you. So make sure, ask as many questions as you'd like. It'll be very interactive. So I'll go ahead and pass it on over to David, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Thanks, Dominga. We're doing some video for my YouTube channel. Nobody likes to talk twice. I wish I could videotape some of my lessons to my kids. And it's like, did you watch our YouTube channel? Tell me about this room. It's annoying. Yeah. They can watch Moana 18 times, but they can't listen to one lecture once. Like, you already told me that. Like, you listen to the same song 10 times. So what I want to tell you for today is relax your learning senses, because it's very hard to grab everything in this one session, and try to get one thing today, right? You don't need to get everything today, but you can say, I just remember this one point. So I want to downgrade the expectations that you're going to walk away with today with everything. If you just narrow your focus on, if I can walk away with something to do today, then I had a very successful engagement. So I think Dominga did a good job of kind of telling you why I'm here, but I think it's important for me to start out how this presentation is going to go. So we're going to break this up into 15 segment blocks. So it's 2:15 now. The first 15 minutes will just kind of be me introducing myself, talking about entrepreneurship in general and that mindset. It's important. The second 15 minutes will be me starting to talk about raising capital and what goes into raising money for your business. The next 15 minutes will go to specific questions of breaking down specific questions on raising capital. And then the last 15 or so, we'll do questions and answers. But you can still ask questions along the way, right? So if I say something, a word, a sentence that doesn't make sense to you, it's okay to raise your hand. This is an intimate setting. Like, Dave, can you say that again? You don't have to go to the YouTube channel. I'll repeat it. So I want to first let you guys know that I appreciate your energy of being in this spot. I am a believer that if you exist and you're in a business, you're doing a good job. So all of you who have a current business that brought you to this spot, you're doing a good job. The second thing is that give yourself credit for putting yourself in a room to understand this process. There's so many people who go out to raise money for a business and just do it. And they don't know what they're doing, they don't know how to do it. And there's a lot of people who need money for their business, but they're scared to ask, right? Because they're not sure how this all works. Today, I want to kind of get rid of some of those fears, some of those anxieties around raising capital. And if you have been successful in raising capital, tell you what worked for you and why it didn't, if you haven't been successful. So as a way of background, I'm originally from Detroit. So anybody here from Michigan, Detroit, anywhere where it snows? All right, snowy areas. Okay, good. And I started off in corporate law, being from Detroit. In Detroit, at the law firm, I moved down here to Atlanta, worked at King & Spalding, which is a big law firm. And then I worked for a venture capital firm. I'm gonna start using bigger words. We'll start kindergarten, and then we'll move our way up to bigger words. But a venture capital firm is, if you've seen Flip This House, venture capitalists flip this business. They buy a business low, bring in resources and assets, sell it high. That's what venture capitalists do. Well, I became corporate counsel to a venture capitalist, and we took a Korean company public in the US. This Korean company specialized in nanotechnology and things that kind of cooled heat. And they wanted to go public in the US, and I helped them go public. Here's an interesting stat. They had no revenue. They raised $22 million and hadn't sold one electronic component or anything else. So how does a black guy in Atlanta help a Korean company go public here in the US, and they haven't sold anything. And I'm telling you it's because money doesn't necessarily work, or investors doesn't necessarily look at your current revenue, they look at your plan for how you get into revenue and what's your strategy for getting there. No one expects you to be perfect and profitable when it comes to investors, but they do expect you to have a plan on how to get there, and they want you to imagine the plan, right? So we're gonna get into that a little bit. How do we sell our plan for how we're gonna get there? And that's what I'm going to show you guys today, that you don't need to be profitable right now in order to get the benefits of raising capital. You just have to have a plan. And I think sometimes we forget what it's like to be an investor when we start a business. We think it's obvious. Give me $10,000 so I can grow. Why? It's obvious, right? It's obvious I'm growing. I know, but you have to be a better storyteller. So we're going to work on storytelling today. How do we tell a story to get people to invest in our business? And anything you've ever invested in, whether it's your time or money, and when you go to a grocery store, you certainly become an investor, you have a story behind why you pick something. Oh, this is the jelly my grandmother used, or this is the water that's down the street at Pittsburgh. Like every time you make a selection, you're buying into a story. All the investors want to do is be told a story, except they want to make money at the end of the story. And at the end of this story, you make a lot of money. Everybody's like, yay! So you have to be comfortable telling people a story that ends in them making money, because that's what they're investing for. That's why you take your money out the savings account and put it somewhere else, because you want to make more than what it's making in the savings account. And so we're going to talk about the characteristics of an investor. So after being this big law firm, this big lawyer for all these big companies, I had an aunt using prepaid legal to do her beauty school, or a cousin using a criminal attorney to start his massage business. And here I was, this international attorney that can help foreign companies, but I have local friends and family members who don't know how to put their boat into the ocean. Forget about navigating. So that's when I started my own practice here in Atlanta, focusing exclusively on startup and small business owners. So I help them start their business, buy and sell business, raise capital. Like Dominga mentioned, no bad news law. So in 24 years of practicing, I've been to court maybe 8 times. I don't like anything about the court. I don't like the way the parking lot smells. I don't like the handcuffs. I don't like anything. So for me, I like to focus in on the good news stuff. I love closings, wire transfers, champagne, happiness, right? This is what I focus in on. So all of you in here probably have some business or starting some business. Has anyone formed an LLC or corporation yet? All right, good. Everybody's past that stage. We don't need to talk about EINs. Any nonprofits in here? Okay, good. So we're all for-profit people, all chasing money, all trying to make our business better. So let's start with the reason I got a whiteboard and I use the whiteboard is because I'm not a big fan of the PowerPoints. Like PowerPoints are like people cheating, telling you everything and then just reading it as they go through it. If you're good at what you should do, yes?
One question before you get started. He had a nonprofit, but you didn't see his hand. I don't know.
Oh, you had a...
What you about to say? Yeah.
I'm both.
Oh, both. You got 2. All right, today's for the for-profit, is what I want to tell you. Nonprofit is donations. That's a different business model. So I just wanted to let you know the audience you're doing. Okay, so again, going back to the whiteboard, you did say you're the question helper. So if you see the question, yeah, yesterday you was telling me, like, if you have a question, I'll make sure people know you have a question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so if you see anybody.
Well, I want to make sure because
yes.
it may have changed what you were going to say.
Correct. So if you see a question or arm raised, yeah.
When you said 24 years, was that including the time with the big company or just on your own?
No, so I've been 24 years total, including the company. I've been on my own since 2008, so that's what, 14 years? So yeah, on my own. So I've spent 10 years roughly with the big law firms in the sense I've been on. And that's important because when I talk to business owners, they want to know you can take them to that next level. Like I helped the US company go public in Germany. So if you know that I'm the person that can ultimately help you sell your company, take it public, then you know that, okay, I can believe what he says if we're in the startup phase of how to get this done. And that the money I've raised for my clients and help them raise. So I don't go out and find investors. I help the company, when you find an investor, write the paperwork for the investor. So a lot of people say, business attorney, can you get me investors? I said, no, you get your own investors, but I do the paperwork. And then I help you with the speech to the investors, because a lot of it is confidence. Today we're gonna build up our confidence to talk to other people, okay? So I did this whiteboard because I didn't want to hand out, like I said, a PowerPoint. I wanted to be real in front of you. So again, we're gonna talk about, you mentioned my background, the first thing. The second thing we're gonna get in is to the mentality of the business owner. 3, we're going to get into, raising capital. And then lastly, we're going to get into any sort of questions about it, which you guys will have. So in terms of the background, as I mentioned, one of the things that when you go to raise capital, you have to understand is you're running a parallel race. Now, what does that mean? All of you have a business right now that you have to sell a widget or a service tomorrow. Don't stop doing that no matter what I said today. You have to do it in parallel with your current business. So what is the current business owner's mindset versus how to raise money mindset? 2 different mindsets. The business owner mindset says, hey, I got 24 hours in a day. I'm going to sleep for 6 to 8 hours. That gives me 16 hours to generate revenue. And you're using every single waking moment to try to figure out how to generate revenue for the rest of your day. Employees, they spend the same hours, but they go to work, right? They drive, they say, I only spend 8 hours at work. Wrong, you hit your alarm clock, you drove there, then your day started, then you finished and drove home and undressed, and then you got back to regular. That was 12, 16 hours. So we have to realize that we are in a special presence compared to the rest of the world. We're in the 2 to 8%. That 2 to 8% sometimes create a cockiness in us that we know what we're doing. And some of the times, the hardest part with business owners is we're type A personalities, right? We want to figure stuff out all the time. Well, one of the things that we do when we do our business is we get too comfortable with how our business is going and that people should know what we've been doing. Like, oh, Dave Walker, I'm in the bottled water business. I want you to invest $10,000 in this business. Why? I just told you, I'm Dave Walker. I'm in the bottled water business. We don't really get into the idea of the other person listening going, why would I spend $10,000 in that business? You skip so many steps. It's like having your own client, right? Being your own client for your own services. You skip so many steps that you normally would think of if you were an investor that you forgot to think about. So let's talk about the investor mentality before you approach an investor. What are the things that make up the decision behind being an investor, right? One is they support you. So you're going to a cocktail party and you talk to people like, hey, what do you do? I sell widgets, I sell cookies, I do this. And most people will say, oh, that's interesting, tell me more about it, right? So when you go as an entrepreneur, you have to now, when they say tell me more about it, add the investment component to it. I sell cookies and I'm raising $10,000 and I'm offering $20,000 to expand my business. So you have to get comfortable in including investing into your conversation about your business, right? So as you're running your business, you now have to keep your business running and go out to raise capital. 2 different mindsets. So you know how to run your business, but Dave, how do I get into the mindset of raising capital? How do I get myself ready? Number 1 is you're gonna need money. So what triggers you to get an investor? A is money, right? You get to a point, if we all had the money we need, none of us would be sitting here. You're like, I don't need an attorney, I got an attorney, I'm about to go spend my money. Good, this session's over for you. But those of us though who use all of our money and run out, we're oftentimes left in the middle of the night thinking, how can I get to this next level? And you have an idea. You're moving along like this, and you see a level up here, and you know you can get there. Customers get you there like this, right? So you're moving along like this, and you say, okay, I want to get up here though, right? Customers get you up there by going like this, right? And this might be a year between these 2 points, right? This is a year, and this is the customer, right? It takes you a while to get there. You're like, I don't have a year. You say, I want to jump here. I want to go from here, and I want to go to here. This is your investor, right? This is the person that says, or the investor that says, I know you can get there using your customer, but I want to jump you up and so you can go like this now, right? I want to jump you up to a level and you can go like this. So we can't always rely on this business cycle to earn enough money to jump up a level. No matter what level we're at in this room, we all can jump up to, if you're doing 10,000, you want to jump to 100,000. If you're doing 100,000, you want to jump to 1 million. Your customers can't get you there. You don't have enough time and energy. You can steady your ship and you can pay your bills. But if you want to start hiring people, if you want to start looking at your own spaces, if you want to get your own vehicles, you got to jump up a level. And most of the time, that level jump is investment. This is how companies grow. CEOs spend more time talking to investors than they do customers. They don't go out and talk to you. They go from meeting to meeting to meeting in New York talking to investors because they know the only true way to grow your business is to get a substantial amount of money, hire 5 employees, get a 50,000 square foot space. So that's one of the things you have to determine is that how much money is it going to take for me to start considering investors? So the second part of this mentality that kicks in when you want money is your audience. So you start to say, where do I find investors, right? I need money, but where's investors? Business owners think that there's a room of investors sitting here somewhere that they're missing out on. They all just sitting there with their money, throwing it in the air, going, oh, I wish somebody from Pittsburgh Yards would come in here. I'm going to write them a check for $10,000. It's not how it works. Every person you engage with after you open your eyes in the morning is an investor. So you close your eyes. Your spouse, mother, father, cousin, friend, coworker, Walter, Tamika, whoever, they're all potential investors. Everybody in this room is a potential investor in your business. Why? Because we're all greedy. Don't laugh. We're all greedy. Investor is greed. Don't get it twisted. Don't want anybody to feel sorry for your business. It's all based upon greed. They want to take their money and do the same thing. I can leave it in the savings and it goes like this, this, and this. But I want to put it in something that's going to jump me here. So you got to remember, every person you talk to, ultimately before they invest, they have to have a greed trigger. When it comes to nonprofits, you're tugging on their strings, their heartstrings, what's right, making donations. That's why a nonprofit is different than a business, is you're trying to convince a different group of audience for different reasons. In business, though, you're trying to get that investor's greed to trigger. So how do you trigger an investor greed? And I'm like, dang, that sounds so brutal. That's true. We're for profit. We're out here to make more money. How do you trigger investor greed? You got to make them feel like your business is going to happen with or without them. What do I mean? If I come into you and I say, hey, I need $10,000. You're like, oh yeah? Yeah, as soon as you give me that $10,000, I'm gonna go out and do all this other stuff. I walk away listening, but I'm like, I don't have time for this, right? But if I know that, hey, how you doing, Dave? Good. I'm on my way to a meeting. We're about to go raise a bunch of money. I'm building a plant. How much money do you need? I need $10,000, but I gotta go buy these equipment. All of a sudden, people are like, wait a minute. This is gonna happen with or without me. Dave's driven, focused on his goals. So this is gonna happen with or without me. That's the first, one of the triggers of greed is, do I see something that nobody else sees that I can make a decision on to invest in? So you as a business owner has to remember that person doesn't want to lose their money, they do want to trigger their greed, but how do I sell them a story that triggers their greed, that makes them put money into my company? Right? Follow me so far? Any questions about the mentality of what it's going to take? So lastly, is you need a closing. So you need money, you found an investor, and now you got to close them, right? Now you got to actually get the money from them, give them the paperwork, right? You got to have a closing. That's when all the process starts with investors, after the closing. You think the process started with getting the investor, but it actually starts after the investor comes in, because you have to spend just as much time selling the investor after they come in than you do before they come in, okay? If you go around shaking everybody's hand and they talk about you need money, the day after it closes, you better walk out and tell everybody what you're doing with the money. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen people have an issue with raising capital, is they sell the world. January 1st, we're gonna bring in 500 investors and I'm gonna raise $1 million. January 2nd, crickets. January 15th, crickets. January 30th, crickets. Hey man, I gave you $5,000 for January 1st. Oh, I'm working on something. No, you came to my house 5 times before Christmas, and now y'all can't hear from you. Those people get upset and they sue you. And they go to people like me or other SEC attorneys, they go, I put $10,000 in this company, I haven't heard from them. They're gonna find a way to sue you and figure out what between those closings did you do wrong to get my money back. So if you, however, let them know, hey, we lost the contract, sorry about that. Sharing bad news with your investors is important, because if you let them know that the bad news is coming, they can be the first ones to help you, right? So if you have bad news and you lost the contract, you might need money, the first people you have to talk to is the first investors. Because why? Their money's at risk. Think about you. You sometimes put in $10 for something, Turns out you need something else added to it. Well, I might lose my 10, so I'll put in another 2 or 3. That's what investors think, if they feel like they understand what's happening. But if you show up like, that 10 is gone, but I'm gonna need another 5. Like, no, that's not gonna work, because you never told me where the 10 went. So there's a strategy to this that makes people successful in fundraising, and then there's people who just throw stuff at the wall. You can see now already, in a short amount of time, without even getting into the topic, how easily it can be to disturb people and knock them off when you're trying to raise money, because you forget these things. And the bad thing about an investor is that they're never gonna tell you no. They're just gonna say not right now, which makes you feel like that's a yes. But not right now basically means hell no. Not right now means hell no. And you go back like, oh, I'm gonna get that 5,000, and inside they're like, hell no. They don't have the heart to tell you. Same reason they inquired. I was curious. You told me, no, I'm not interested. So how do we keep them interested, engaged, fulfilled, part of the process, feeling like they're part of something bigger, feeling like they're going to make more money? That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into raising capital. Let's get to the meat of this. All right. So when we go to talk to investors, there are 4 questions we have to ask them and 3 mediums we have to deliver the answer in. So what are the 4 investor questions? Right? And then what is the medium in which they have to be delivered? What do I mean by that? How do you get your answers across? We'll talk about that in a second. So the first question is, you have to answer, all investors that are walking around that you wake up to, is what do you do? So my name is Dave Walker. I own a bottled water company. You have to be able to talk about what do you do. The second one is, why are you good at it? They say, the attorneys have bad handwriting, this is proof. Why are you good at it? I sell bottled water, we sell it by the truckload. We're in 400 city trends, we're in the airport, and we're in some of the local retailers. We've been gaining revenue each year since we launched the brand 4 years ago, right? The third question and the fourth question are the hardest for entrepreneurs. Number 3 is, how much money do you need? And 4 is, what does the investor get for it? This is where all my business owners basically drop the phone. $10,000, what should I give them? I'm like, it's not free, it's not a donation. You gotta talk about what does an investor get for the money that they put in. And that's where I help out as well. But today you guys are gonna get a big jump on that. What does an investor get? So the mediums you have to deliver it in. First, you have to be able to talk these answers. Secondly, you have to write these answers in writing. And then thirdly, now, this is since the last 5 years ago, you gotta have a video that talks about these answers that they can share with people. This is new, but it's effective. I'm gonna talk about that. So let's go through these questions. That's where we're gonna spend most of this next 15-minute section, is to break down these questions and how they fit into you raising money. So we know we gotta trigger the greed factor. We know we have to, get in front of people and talk. And we know that each person we interact with from the time we open our eyes are potential investors. And if you can answer these 4 questions, you'll get people to invest. So you say, Dave Walker. I'm Dave Walker. I have a bottled water company. We sell about a truckload. We sell to City Trends, airport locally. We're looking for $22 million to build a plant facility here in Pittsburgh Yards. The facility would generate $10 million in revenue a year, making 2 million cases at $5 a piece, and it would generate about $4.5 million of profit, which would pay the investor a 12% return each year until the plant is sold or goes public. Right? That raises a lot of questions in your head, but at least you know what I'm about to say after that. So when you talk about these 4 questions to investors, you have to be able to say them really quickly and then go through them slowly. Because people don't like to be led into what they're doing. So I get these business plans, right? We're talking about the written form. Everybody sends me these elaborate business plans. And I'll flip through them. I go, what's the point of this? Well, I just want to show you what I'm doing and why I'm good at it. I can understand that in a 2-second conversation. What is this for? I'm raising money. How much money? Oh, that's in a separate document. What kind of game are we playing here? Put it on the front page. Give me a front page. You're about to read a business plan that tells me that I sell bottled water, that I'm good at it, that I need $22 million, and that you're going to get a 16% return on your money every year. Put that in the front page, so now when I'm reading, I have context. But when you jump a business plan in front of somebody and it doesn't tell them what they're trying to do or what you're offering, it doesn't help. You ever see Shark Tank? Mm-hmm. Every single person that comes onto that show, opening sentence, answer these 4 questions. I'm so-and-so and so-and-so, we have this, this, and this. We're looking to raise $100,000 for 10% of the company. It's right there. They do it every single one, no matter what. And you see what those, see if the sharks start writing down like that? You know what they're writing down? They're writing down when those people talk, the valuation of the company. We'll get into that later. But they're actually analyzing that business from the first opening sentence. It helps me analyze what kind of business that is as from an investor side. Because when you told me how much money you're looking for, I know where I should be in this room. $22 million, I need to be in the $22,000 room, right? It lets me know what I'm getting for it. Oh, 16% return? Maybe I do want to sit here, right? So you got to tell investors what you're looking for. So when we target investors, it's important to understand that the investor list can go from the person who's next to you all the way up to banks, investment bankers, et cetera. These 4 questions aren't just for investment banks and banks, it's just for your brothers, your sisters. If you tell them this, they may not have the money to invest, but they see you have confidence. And that confidence lets them bring you to other investors. Like, Dave, I don't have it, but I've got a guy who's actually in trucking who might be interested in investing. I see you're prepared. I'm going to be an advocate for you to bring somebody else in. The preparation gives you confidence. The people who believe in you build their confidence, and all of a sudden you get bigger audience. So how do we build these confidence? These questions. This is the hardest one. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on what do you do and why you're good at it. You all probably got a 30-page business plan somewhere that tells you that. How much money do you need is a very hard question. Every time I ask people how much money they need, I get a 2-syllable response. It starts with about 50,000, about 100,000, about 10,000, and they don't know how bad that sounds to an investor. If you went to Walmart with $1 and you had to get a candy bar, and you went to the register, you're like, how much is this candy bar? Like, about $1. Like, no, is it 94 cents with change? Is it $1 with some, tax? Like, what is it? Same thing when people hear you talk about your company. They want to know how much money you need, and it's up to you to be able to give them an idea of how much money you need. So you have to be accurate. You have to tell them exactly how much you need. So let's say the about example. Shadi wants to start a distribution business. How much you need, Shadi? About $50,000. So Shadi has an LLC, the bank account. It has $3,000 in it right now. We go to Warren Buffett. He's over there. We tell him Shadi's plan and his distribution, and Warren Buffett goes, I love it. You got an LLC? Shadi goes, hell yeah, I got an LLC. Okay, tomorrow, March 29th or March 30th, whatever tomorrow is, I'm going to wire $50,000 to his account. $53,000 when he wakes up tomorrow. Refresh, $50,000 in my account. I say to Shadi, what are you going to do tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow I'm going to go look for some trucks. I'm going to go look for some trailers. I'm going to post an ad in Indeed. So, but how much money are you going to spend tomorrow? Probably none of it. Okay, Mr. Buffett is going to take his money back out of your account because you're not ready. But if Shadi goes, great, what are you doing? I'm pressing send on all these contracts. I'm spending $17,400 to write her right now because I need to get 3 trucks. I'm pressing send on Indeed because I offered a job for a couple of people that I interviewed. I want to send them a job offer. I'm pressing sign on this contract on this lease with Pittsburgh Yards. And then I'm going to have another $30,000 left, but I'm going to lose $3,000 for the next few months before I become profitable. Now, Mr. Buffett's like, that's what I wanted to see. I want to know that my money's going to activate you, not start your research campaign. When you say about you're asking for some help to help you think. If I had money in my account, I could think. Don't think like that, right? You have to be able to go through and go find the cost of everything you need to start your business. Over what time period? So this is another factor. So how much do I need money for how long? Until you have to ask for more money again, or somebody's going to buy you out, or your businesses get stable. So we talked about that gap. How long? So people might say you need money, but is this money going to last for 6 months, or is it going to last for a year? So you got to know, okay, if I want to get to this place, if I get to 10,000 customers, I'm straight. We can go on cruise control. So what is the money and the time it's going to take for you to get to 10,000 customers? I need $50,000 over a year, because by the end of that year, I'll be profitable. That's what you have to sit down with your financial person and talk about. Hey, I went out and got all of these costs. The financial person can go in and say, well, at Pittsburgh Yards, did you know that the rent was this? Or did you know that the fees for your insurance was this that you didn't have? You're like, oh no, I got to add that to the list. Turns out, Shotty goes, Dave, I need $78,475. That's okay. That's okay, because it's the truth. And you can justify it when somebody asks you. Then Shotty goes, well, you know what? I actually need some money for myself. Right? What? Oh, yeah, you need? Yeah, I'm quitting my job. I'm going to do this full time. I just need a little security. I'm probably going to need about $5,000 a month just to kind of help myself. Add that to the budget. Tell the investor, hey, I'm going to be paying myself because I'm pushing this product, and it's going to create my sense of well-being and wealth and wellness, so I don't have to stress. But I don't want you to stress when you see a payroll coming out to pay myself. It's part of the deal that I'm offering you. Yes, I understand. So all those things you can put into an investor document. I think that's what shocks black people the most, is that they think like, I can tell this person I'm going to give some money to myself. Every investor across the world knows that. Like, how much is the CEO's salary? But we are like, nah, I got some money on the side. Well, nobody wants to invest if you got money on the side, meaning you haven't put it in. Or, oh, I'm going to be all right. Yeah, you're going to be all right by pulling money out of the account I just gave you. Tell me, make me feel good that if you're going to take the money out, how much is it going to be, right? Or if you're not going to put money in, I need to hear why, because you're asking me for money and your pockets are still full, right? So part of this is how much money you need has to be thought out before you talk to anybody, and be as specific. Why? Because it triggers their greed. When you heard me talking, you're like, man, this guy's going to build a plan. He's going to make a lot of money. You turn greedy. But now I have your greed attention, because now I know you know exactly what you're doing, and this is going to happen with or without me investing. He's going to do this with or without. She's going to do this with or without me. Now they're interested. Now they're greedy. Now they're feeling like, okay, I can do this. Number 4, it's the hardest part now. Shotty, you got Warren Buffett, $50,000, right? And you happy, you're like $53,000, but now Mr. Buffett's going, excuse me, sir. Yeah, I know you're going to be happy, my 50, but what do I get? Right? A lot of people forget about that. What do I get? I'm the person that shows you what you get. So when it comes to investing, there's 2 sort of ways to pay people back. If you can pay them back within a couple years, then you can borrow the money. If you're going to pay them back later, then you invest in the company for long-term returns. Think about if somebody borrowed $20 from you. Something's happened over here, fight. I didn't know what was happening back there. So suppose somebody wanted to borrow $20 from you, and they said, okay, the first question you have is, when am I going to get it back? And someone said, Friday. You might go, okay, cool, here, $20 till Friday. But if they said, oh, I'll get it back to you in 2027. You're like, hold up, it better be more than $20 when I get it back. Same thing in investing. If you can pay your money back, if you come up with $50,000, and Shotty goes, oh, 6 months, I'll be rolling in the dough. I can pay you $5,000 a month in 6 months, and now have it paid off in a year. Perfect. $50,000 payable, $5,000 a month. In the next 6 months, for a year, I'll pay you back $60,000. Warren Buffett could then walk away like, I like Shotty, seems reasonable, ready to go. I'm gonna give him $50,000. He's gonna start paying me back $5,000 a month in 6 months, and he showed it to me. Now my greed factor is triggered. I know I'm gonna make, whatever percentage on the interest on the money, and I feel good about it. That's what we have to do as attorneys when it comes to the equity portion instead of debt. So that was debt. Promissory note paying somebody back is debt. So a lot of businesses rely too much on the idea that I'm going to pay you back. Stop saying that. Most of us are not going to be able to pay you back. If your business is growing, you don't want to have another note to add to it. All this EIDL money and PPP money, this stuff got to be paid back. Like people tell you, oh, increase your credit score so you can take a business loan. And I'm like, for what? You need to increase your revenue so you can have profit to pay back a business loan. You take a business loan and don't have no way to pay it back, they're gonna have your bank account garnished and your stuff taken away, your trainer taken away. You gotta have a plan on how to make money to pay it back. So you gotta make the money you took back plus interest. And so when you're talking about business, you prefer somebody to put the money in and roll with you. So that's what I did at Star Walker Industries. I went out on the equity crowdfunding site and I brought in a bunch of people to invest in a long-term vision. All these people know you're not getting your money back right away. You're getting your money back years later when we build the plant, 5-6 years probably. You set an expectation. So when you go to equity crowdfunding, which is we'll talk about at the end, when you go to equity crowdfunding, you're selling to investors, you're telling them these 4 questions, and you're telling them how they're getting the money back. Equity crowdfunding platforms, we're gonna get into equity crowdfunding, trust me, a lot. So those platforms are designed to bring investors to you and give you a space to raise money. You couldn't have this before. Obama passed this in the Jobs Act. He created a system in which now you can go out and raise money from your community instead of having to wait to be public and do all these other things. But there's limitations on it. It's how much you can raise, who you can sell it to. So these equity crowdfunding platforms are the ones that offer you the ability to put your business on and answer these 4 questions. So these platforms let you talk. They'll let you schedule meetings with your potential investors and set up Zooms. They'll let you put out your written business plan and post it. And then lastly, they'll let you post a video. So you have some sort of video that answers these questions that allows them to say, hey, this is how I invest in this company. So you have a story. When you go to equity crowdfunding platforms, you want to tell them your story, and then you want to be able to talk about it, you want to be able to write about it, and you want to have a video. That's the energy it takes to be able to raise capital. In addition to, Shadi has to deliver a load today. Shadi doesn't get to say, hey, I'm waiting for that check from Mr. Buffett, right? And I'm going to just stop all my deliveries until he writes that check. Mr. Buffett might ask him, but Shadi, before I send this money, when's the last load you delivered? December. December? Yeah, I stopped because I was raising money. I'm not greedy anymore. Now all of a sudden you gave me a good plan, you did everything, but you stopped your business to raise money. This is why this becomes really hard on an entrepreneur, because you gotta keep running your business every day while separately building up this plan on how to raise money. And every day you're gonna find something new you wanna fold into. What do I do? Oh wait, let me tell the investor that I also have this coming. Oh wait, let me add this to my list of things I'm gonna need with this money. Oh wait, let me think about what I can add and talk about what I do better and why I'm good at it in my team. Go ahead.
So are you saying that it's better to start, and this is not a planted question, I know I work for David, but I'm also an entrepreneur. So are you saying that it's good to go ahead and start your business, start moving your product or your services, and during that time then you ask for investors? Or
Yes.
do you ask for investors first from just a written business
Think
plan,
about it
just
this way.
an idea?
Think about you driving a car or a bike. An investor is not a person that you park your bike and you go, I'm about to ride this bike. You might want to get in before I get on this bike. You want to get in on this bike ride? An investor is you ride the bike and you riding by them. Hey, I need some money, throw some money to right by I go. That's how investors are sold. They're not sold on as soon as we get all the bike parts, I'm gonna ride this bike. When you're driving the business, you're riding the bike. You gotta keep moving in your business while you're raising money. Don't let the frustration of not having money stop you with business. Don't make the frustration of no stop you with business. Because you'll get all the way to the signing table with an investor and they'll ask you one last minute question. So Dave, how much water did you sell yesterday? Yesterday? I stopped, right? But I sold 3 pallets yesterday. In fact, if you don't get to this close, I'm gonna miss 2 pallets today. They want, yeah, let me get you this money. So we gotta change our mentality to be more prepared so that people can feel greedy. When you kick that greed factor in, that's when they start writing checks. So let's talk specifically about what does an investor get for 15 minutes. Shadi is convinced that he needs $50,000. The amount of money you need should not change. The amount of money you need should not change. In Shark Tank, the #1 way they eliminate people is when they change their amounts. I'm coming in for 75, and the shark will go, well, I'll give you 100. And they're like, I want to do it 100. They're like, I'm out. because you didn't really need 75. You should know how much, like, I don't need 100, I need 75. So once you know the dollar amount you need, the second thing you have to know is the valuation. So this investor is the amount of the investor money, this is math. You take the amount of investor money and you divide it by the value of your company. What people heard of valuation. So now I'm starting to talk a little bit more older. The term valuation is just the value of your company. In real estate, it's called an appraisal. But in business, it's called valuation. So everybody always gets to this point and says, Dave, what's the value of my company? Shadi would say, what's the value of the company? If his company is worth $500,000, right?
It's a little light on that side. The evaluation is investment over what?
Investment money divided by the valuation.
Okay.
So if Shadi says my company is worth $500,000, Mr. Buffett gets 10% of this company because it's $50,000 over the valuation. If he says it's worth $5 million, then Mr. Buffett gets 1% of his company. So what his valuation is depends on how much percentage Mr. Buffett would get. Most business owners come to me because they're not sure what their valuation is.
Is that why companies have high valuations so that their returns to investors are diminished?
Well, not returns diminished, but the investment value of it. So investors are betting on the increase in valuation.
Right.
You, as a business owner, want to
You don't
give
wanna-
them to start at the highest number possible, and they'll make money going up.
Right.
So if I start in at Shadi's business at 500,000, I'm great at 10%, of 500,000 because he's going to be 2 million in a couple years. With just how his value quadrupled, my 50,000 just quadrupled because now I got 10% of a $2 million company. So investors are always trying to get your valuation low so they can get in there. So as you do your hard work and increase it, they can make more money later. Yeah.
My question is how to view that when you are a services-oriented company as opposed to products.
There's all kind of valuations done. At the end of the day, the valuation is what you can convince an investor at your stage. There are valuation experts out there. Like you can hire an appraiser that can come in and you spend $15,000 and they'll tell you, this is how much your company's worth. But only people who are doing $1 million plus hire those kind of people. So what you are left to is old school because you and I have to agree mode with valuation. The problem is you don't know what I'm thinking as the investor, and I'm the investor seeing I do valuation negotiations 50 times a day. You do it, this is your first time ever. So that's where I'm the sharp repellent. I'm the one that says, I know what he's thinking. I know what she's thinking as an investor. Here's what your valuation ought to be like, what makes sense. So for service businesses, oftentimes the valuation will be a multiple of your industry revenue. So if you're an accountant, I think you're doing 100,000, your valuation is like 110,000 because it's like service for service. But in products like manufacturing, your valuation can be 10, 15 times your revenue because of the potential of how it grows. So each of you in here has a different valuation model for your business. You can Google it. Hey, how much is a business that does this much money in this industry worth? The industry matters, okay? So you can Google it. So the more prepared you are to argue your valuation, the better, right? Like what are some of the things that goes into valuation? Right? So I'm going to give you valuation factors. Right? One factor, I'm back to this side because I was video. One factor is your revenue. Right? How much money are you making? How much money are you bringing in? It's not the end factor, because again, I was in Korea, they weren't bringing in any. But it's a factor. I shouldn't say one, I'll say A, because I don't want people to think that it has to be. 2 is your management team, right? Who on your team has done this before and can they get you to this point? Because you rolled out, Shadi, to me, how you're going to make all this money. Who's using it? I got Dave Walker as an attorney. I got this person, the CFO. These are the people on my team. Get changed. Like if you start a phone company, all of our valuation is low. But if Steve Jobs is on your team, your valuation is high, but you hadn't sold anything. But you brought in a person who's done it before. So if you can create strategic partnerships with people, that increases your valuation. Oh, I'm working with Shaq. Oh, I'm working with this. Now all of a sudden your valuation is higher because I have a management team or intangibles of people in my business that can help me increase my valuation. And so you're arguing these things. Another thing is your intellectual property. Intellectual property are things like patents, trademarks, copyrights. So if you got a brand and you trademark, increase your valuation, right? If you have a book, you've copyrighted, increase your valuation. If you have an invention and you patent it, increase your valuation. That goes into the factor. One other factor is investors, right? Who else is invested in this business? Are you the only investor? How much have you invested? These are all factored in your valuation. Every dollar you spent in your business is part of the investment. Hey, I spent $50,000 of my personal money or $600,000 of my personal money. That factors into your valuation. Those are the things you can ask for. We can go on and on with these. The industry you're in, if you're going to talk about E. So I'm in bottled water. How's bottled water doing? Is it trending up or down? Passed carbonated drinks and drinks per capita in 2016, and it's taken off. And it's set to do, something over some crazy $400 billion this year. So the point is, you got to know your industry. If you're in an industry that's slow growth, it's okay, but know it. Hey, I'm in a slow growth industry. This is what the money is going to be used for, and this is what my industry says that this company's worth. So your industry is important. Your return on investment. So if I give you, Mr. Buffett, 10%, Shadi, how much is 10% going to pay me over time? And when? So, Mr. Buffett, I'm not making profit till next year, and I can't pay you $50,000, but 10% I project to be worth $20,000 next year, $40,000 the next, and $60,000 the next. Oh, okay. So now I'm going to have my 10%, and I'm going to get paid my money back over 3 to 5 years. So, if you do a return and the value of somebody's investment, you need to do a 3 to 5 year projection of what that investment is going to be worth. Okay, right now it's only worth 10%, and it's only worth $50,000. But it had $500,000 valuation. But in 2 years, it'll be $2 million, and you'll be 200. And then in 3 years or 5 years, it's going to be $20 million, and you'll be at $2 million, whatever. So you want to give that person an idea that their value is going to increase over time, right? So these factors that go into valuation are not easy, but the more you start to realize that at some point you're going to get back to this question of valuation, you start to put all this stuff into your paper. So I already put into my Star Walker plan that we were going to build a plant that was going to make $4.6 million per year. I already put into my plan that we had proprietary technology. I put into my plan the management team. I put into my plan how much revenue we've generated so far. You see how this stuff starts to work in a circle because you know you're going to end there. So at the end when Mr. Buffett's like, man, you're trying to raise $22 million, you got a $100 million valuation. Yeah, I'm going to go over again why it's $100 million. And he was like, I like that bravado. I'm going to write you a check for $22 million. But you're trying to establish a rapport with that investor. A rapport that's meant to let them know that with your money is going to be safe with me because I bust my tail and I've thought about all the questions that you might have. I've invested in an attorney. I've invested in an accountant. And even if your mother heard this, they'd be like, you know what, baby, I don't have it. But you are focused. I'm going to take it to my coworker. I'm going to take it to whoever. And the more people you practice in front of, the better you get. Because guess what? We are terrible at analyzing ourselves. But you get your family in this room. You say, family, it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to give you an investor pitch. You don't have to invest, but I want to walk you through what I do, why I'm good at it, how much money I'm looking for, and what do I need. And do it for 10 or 15 minutes, just the verbal. And then ask them. Oh, you didn't explain how you have, these other brands of water. You didn't explain how the water's going to move around or get shipped. And then you say, you know what? Good point. Go back and fix it. And as your audience expands, your family goes, oh, I loved it. I'm actually going to tell my cousin. And then guess what? Cousin, I'm here at Thanksgiving. They give me, my cousin's doing a pitch. It's good. And guess what people tell me? We're going to tell them. Send it to me. So people come to me and go, Dave, do you have any investors? And I go, what do you mean? Like, I got something good. I'm going to need an investor. I'm like, you're not ready. Yeah, but if I talk to a couple of investors, I got these 4 questions. I can answer them. Well, the first thing that person's going to say to me on the phone, Dave, thanks for calling me. I heard you told me on the phone that, you got this thing, Shadi's going to do this trucking thing, etc. And he goes, first thing they say, you would say it, send me something. Now Shadi's like, what's his address? No, you're not going over to his house to pitch them verbally. I got to press send right now on a document. Where's your document, Shadi? You can't just go talk to my cousin on the phone. I got to send him something. So you got to have a document that backs up your words, because even if Mr. Buffett likes you, Mrs. Buffett might not. And when he goes home and explain your business verbally, you're going to mess it up. So you can get an investor, hook them on the line because you got a slick tongue, but they go home and talk to their spouse and they can't repeat what you just said. Like, oh, Shawty was doing something with some trucks and the bottled water guy was talking and they mess it up and the spouse like, that doesn't sound like a good investment. But when you can give them a document to answer these 4 questions that they can go take to their spouse or whatever, and they're reading it, or their attorney, I'm going, oh, I see this, he's gonna buy some trucks, he's gonna do this, this looks like a solid thing. Now, I'm not looking for their approval, I'm just looking to make sure they don't think I'm stupid, right? I mean, you got a level of investors that can still make their own decisions, but they need the professionals around them to sign off.
So when you have the written, the talking points, and also the video, would we address it as the company or the organization or by our name? So you would, instead of saying, I'm David Walker, would you say, I'm Star
Walker Industries, right. Everything is built around the business.
Okay.
The business itself. You are part of the management team. You're the CEO. You're the leader of the business. You're the president. So you're going to be the one presenting. You're going to be the one delivering information. You're the one that's going to be leading the team, the management team. At the end of the day, it's an investment in the business. When you're early on, the business and you are about the same. But it's an investment. At the end of the day, they're investing in your business, your service, or your product. And you're really just trying to provide as much information as possible. When it comes to equity crowdfunding, that platform, there's a bunch of platforms out there. There's GoFundMe, there's True Crowd, there's a bunch of them. And there's even some black-owned ones. I think it's Buy the Block. So there's different equity platforms. But the biggest mistake is people think is I'm going to go to these platforms, I'm going to throw something together and put it up and people are going to give me $1 million. It's not true. Black people are still savvy investors. Don't think that because, oh, I'm in Pittsburgh Yards, as soon as I put this up, I'll tell everybody in Pittsburgh Yards they'll invest. Not true. Not true. You better come with your heat because people don't want to lose money. And when you start talking about money and investing in unprepared projects, that's the #1 way to lose money. You know how many people come to me after they've given someone $50,000 or $40,000, and it is a shame. I was like, you had the energy to call me because this person didn't pay you back, but you didn't think for 2 minutes before I press send on this wire, maybe I should just talk to somebody first, right? And I'm not gonna here to kill deals. I love deals, but I'm also here to make business owners make wise decisions and investors make wise decisions because now I know the risk. And these are the questions I'm asking the person. So when people come to me and say, hey, I want to invest in something, I go, what do? They tell me. Why are they good at it? Oh, they got a couple of stores around the corner. Doing good. How much money do they need? Well, they ask me for $20,000. What are you getting? Oh, yeah, they didn't tell me that. Maybe I'll go ask. I'm already going to be like, no. If they didn't tell you, then they don't know, and you don't know, and I don't like it, right? Because they haven't been focused. But they tell me all that. Then they give me a sheet that says all this, the business plan that says all this. I'm like, okay, that's good. The last thing I just need is the closing. Send me the documents. And that's where I come in. I mean, I could spend all day talking about the legal documents of loaning the money versus an investment in a company. But know that you're going to need an attorney to be able to do this because when you go out and get investors, there's actually securities laws that you have to abide by. Remember I talked about in the beginning how if you went out and got money and you didn't stay involved with the investor, they could sue you. There could be some issues with how you raise the capital that can give them a claim against you personally if you're not careful about who you solicit to. Equity crowdfunding is great because they allow you to solicit to everybody, but you gotta be registered on that platform first. So there's platforms out there that say, hey, you looking to raise capital? Give us all this, and then we'll take a percentage of the money you raise, but we need all these things. One of the things they're gonna need is reviewed financials by a CPA. Another thing they're going to need is something called the Convertible Note or the investment document. You're going to have an attorney put those together. So you've already figured out that I might have to put money in order to raise money still. And that's okay. Because sometimes people have what's called soft closing round, meaning that how much money do you need is just enough money so that I can get it on equity crowdfunding to get bigger. So you might say to somebody, I need $20,000 to get an accountant, a videographer, and an attorney. It's part of a much bigger 100,000 raise. I'm going to take your 20, get on this platform. I'm going to raise 200,000 on this platform, and then I'm going to convert your money with their money, and then you two together will come in. So I'm asking you for the money so I can get on this equity crowd platforming fund, but I've already shown you the questions I'm going to ask to get there, right? So you can actually have a fundraise before a fundraise before a fundraise. They call it what's called a bridge round. You ever heard the word bridge note, bridge round? That's basically when somebody gives you short-term money to put into money later. So that's a little bit of everything from investing to crowd equity. I wanted to have a lot of questions. Like I said before, you can't remember all of this, right? You can't remember all of it, but you can take one thing away. Which one?
You making a video though?
I am making the video. You can find it on YouTube. What's the question?
So you said earlier about having, so you gave the example of they give you 50,000, you have to pull the trigger right when the money lands. So how soon is that? Because some things I feel like you may not be able to have set up until you have the money.
Yeah.
So for example, like if you want to hire someone, yeah, you can run these interviews, but I'm like,
You don't have the money.
I don't have the money, so like when the money comes now, I am going to do further research because I know the money is there, rather than saying like,
Correct.
man, I already know how much the equipment costs, so I can pull the trigger on that.
No, so you would have what's called like a head count. I want to get 2 head counts, but you should have a dollar figure. This is how much the salary is, and then if you're going to offer benefits or equity. I feel like I can get a good person. I've talked to an HR manager. I've talked to a person who recruits people. I feel like I can get this position for $25,000, $60,000, $50,000 a year, and this is what I'm going to use it for. Monthly is going to be $5,000. So yeah, I mean, I'm not saying you're going to go out and hire that person, but you want to be very clear. All the days of putting up a budget, I see these budgets all the time, and it's just a bunch of zeros. Oh, it's going to be about $200,000 for marketing. And I say, $200,000 for marketing? Market what? You know, websites and apps and stuff. I'm like, no, that's not going to ever work. Stop putting in zeros in your budgets. Don't do it. Go call somebody. I got a website designer who's going to do this for $13,450. Call somebody to do your logo. Call somebody who's going to do your apparel. Whatever you're asking for money for, do more research, because investors will ask, what's this for? Attorney, you have $5,000. I'm glad you asked. It's Dave Walker. He's down over in Atlanta. He does this and this. So you got to just be prepared for investors to look through your stuff and ask, hey, I see you got lawn maintenance down here at $10,000. Why? Oh, I just did an estimate wrong. Oh, that's because they're going to put shrubs around the extra, and then we're going to have to do a doorway where we got to have flowers and roses. So you got to be able to justify. Your figure shouldn't end in 000. You just got to do that work. And that's what makes this so hard. That's what makes raising money so hard, is you have to keep your business going. But when you have any downtime in your business, you got to hit that research button, that Google in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. Everybody who raises money knows this. You spend a lot of time, 2, 3 a.m. researching and getting figures. But the more you get the numbers, you might at first feel like Dave's full of it. I'm getting all this money. My Shadi's like, my list is up to about $90,000, Dave. But guess what? When you wake up tomorrow and your wife is like, what you been doing? Like, I just figured out I need 90. You did? Yeah, I need 90, and I want to pay it back like this, this, and this. And so you got to talk it out, because every time you shake a person's hand, hey, Shadi, how you doing? I'm Dave Walker. Nice to meet you, Mr. Walker. I got a freight company. I'm going to raise $96,700. I'm going to pay it back in a year and a half, and I need some investors in the next couple months. But you're probably busy. I'm going to get an email. I'm going to shoot you something. We can talk later. Oh, perfect. Yeah, I was thinking about getting in the logistics business. So we got 10 minutes left. You have as much questions you can ask in 10 minutes. That breaks out to about, how much is 10 minutes at $4.50 an hour? It's like $70 left in your account. Let me know what you got.
Your remaining balance.
Yeah, the remaining balance in your account. No, so, but that's a good question. It's kind of like, you have to do all this work in the background, and it can feel frustrating and alone, and like, oh, I'm gonna need so much money. Don't undercut how much money you need. I promise you. If you need 78, 92, find out. Because one of the things that's going to get you in trouble too is taking less money than you needed because you just got it in the short term. So if you know you need 60 and somebody's giving you 10 and you know that's not enough, you got to walk away. Like, look, I can't take that 10. Why? I need 60 because 10 is not going to do much for me. Now, I'm going to write you down for 10 and I'm going to go out and try to get 5 more people at 10. So we can get 60 together. But 10 is not going to do it. So make sure you get to the hurdle you want to get to, or else you're going to end up in that back-end conversation at Thanksgiving where it's like, hey, you took 10, what did I hear, right? Those back-end conversations are not fun because you're stressed about your business, you needed more money, you took some money you shouldn't have taken, and now your business is even more stressed. If somebody's going to give you 10, I'm not telling you not to take 10. I'm telling you to do a plan for 10 and scale down. Okay, I'm gonna take your 10 or use that to do more.
Got one more question. So you said, so I'm just thinking about the 10. So I've ran into situations where I've heard, well, I won't say situations, I've heard conversations that there has to be a minimum amount to even go into this equation. So like, I have a mentor in the UK, she's trying to convince me to do this, so this is right on time. Because I was like, I don't want to pay people back. But she was like, I was like, what do you ask? She was like, well, most of the time, you know, it's like, it starts around like 50, 60. I said, I don't have no need. Like in my mind right now, I have no need for 50, 60. She's like, but you're taking it to, like you said, to grow, to
Yes.
expedite. And I was like, is there like a number?
No.
Some people just
So
think
in your
25.
business, in your business, the hardest thing for you to do is when you run. So there's investors at different levels. That's why it's important for you to know how much money you need and not let other people tell you. If you would have told her, hey, I'm looking for this, this, and this, she would not even have mentioned anything to you. She was like, okay, that's not my category. However, you need to think bigger. In order for us to move our businesses to scale, we gotta think bigger. You gotta think about having your own Pittsburgh Yards. You gotta think about having 500 employees. You gotta start thinking bigger about how to scale. Because I will tell you this, it was much easier to raise $22 million than it is to raise $22,000. I don't know how to explain it, but in the big deal world, people want to see bigger, outrageous goals. And investors want to see bigger, outrageous goals. You just got to have the confidence to do it. So I went from a $200,000 raise on equity crowdfunding site with 500 investors to next year going to a $22 million raise. But how do I justify my valuation? How much revenue are we generating so far? Look at our management team and what we've done so far, and the engineers, and they leading the pack. Look how much IP we secured with Positivity and Outgrowing Brand. Look at what other investors we have in there, and DJ Envy and Epps and other people. And then look at our industry of bottled water, right? So you're selling the story constantly at different levels, but now we need to do our own plant. We've sold other people's products, but now we want to build our own plant. A plant, yeah, that's going to move us to $10 million in revenue a year. Oh, wow, I see where that's going. I've seen you do it over the last year. So it's a phase and it's a process, but you got to start building your emotional component for raising money, okay? And don't substitute your current businesses. It's about to be 3:30. Go back to your businesses. You did enough for today. Don't be in a rush. Don't start talking about this to anybody until you are ready. Another mistake is people go, well, thanks, Dave. Got everything I need. I'm about to go out and raise capital. Don't, because the first time you open your mouth about raising money to somebody, they're evaluating an investor lens. As soon as they say no forever. They might help you. Oh, you know who you should talk to? Dave Walker. But there's a saying in our business. People don't like to eat the sausage they see the sausage get made. So if you raising money and somebody goes, oh, you know who you should talk to? You should talk to the person, but you should know that person's not investing. Because if they were, they'd be like, this is who we should talk to, because I'm in. Like I get people going, hey, let's go talk to this person, I'm in. So that's what you need to be prepared for. Don't get sloppy. You know what they need to hear. You know what has to be done. Talk to an attorney, talk to some professionals, practice, and then you start shaking hands and telling people you're raising capital. You can say, I got some exciting things ahead. Can I get your email? I want to send you something. You can give them preludes. So another thing you get investors, you drag them along with the story. I'm doing that here at Pittsburgh Yards. You know, invite people in to see the office. You know, I invite a potential board member to lunch around here, and they walk through, and they don't know this, but I'm going to hit them up for that money later because they've been watching. All my clients watch me grow the bottled water business, and they're like, hey, I thought you was raising some money or something. Like, no, I'm coming for the big stuff later. Don't worry. But tell people your story. Everybody in your business tell your story, and then when you start folding in that investment component, yeah, you know, this summer I'm actually targeting some investors. Oh, yeah? Boom, be ready, though. Don't I'll get back to you, right? Don't start opening until you're ready. Go ahead.
You hit on a big concern of mine, visibility. You are here where people can see you, you can bring people in. Our business has been home-based, and that has been a struggle because of where we are.
You just got to get into the written and the video portion. So what you have to do as a home-based business is start doing more of the written parts so you can distribute by email and other things. Like start the writing portion. So if you have friends, so I raised all that money and for Star Walker with no place either. That's true. We were virtual practically. We had a place up there where we get water and stuff, but we basically ran that money virtually because investors don't care where you're at, they care what you're trying to do. So getting involved in the numbers and telling people how you want to get a new place. Hey, we have a plan to get a place, and this is what it's going to mean. We have a plan for this. It doesn't matter where you're at, especially with Zoom now. It used to be investors did want to get in a room and have you come to these rooms and do what they call road shows. New York, they're famous. I used to do these all the time, where you go from building to building to building, group to group, floor to floor inside the same building, and you do the same speech over and over. Now imagine me doing this speech 5 times a day. Or that's what you got to do as an investor. You got to keep constantly reminding people, and don't take shortcuts. Like, oh, real quick, I'm about to do a plant for $22 million. Can I count you in or not? Right? It's like, you got to realize this is a new person. Breathe. Let me start the process. Tell them what I do, why I'm good at it, how much money I'm looking for, what they're getting for it, and then give them a follow-up. Something that I'm going to get back to you next week, or here's my number to call me, or you mind if I call you? Can I email you the deck? And then keep track of who you emailed your stuff to. Hey, I sent you the executive summary last week. Did you get a chance to look at those things, those 4 questions? You have any questions I can have you? Or I'm inviting the investors over to Pittsburgh Yards, and I'm going to bring in everybody who potentially could be an investor, and I'm going to do a presentation in front of all of you. So video doesn't have to be video. You might say, all right, you know what? I'm putting on my calendar, May 31st, I'm having an investor presentation. And then you call all your friends and family. I'm going to invite you over for positivity water, some coffee, and some donuts, and for an hour, I'm going to walk you through this. You're not to invest, you're here to listen. It's Q&A. So you can actually trick them. They really are investors, but they let them come here with their guards down. Oh, Dave wants me to come look at his investor presentation. But then they leave like, wait, you are raising money for real? You need a check? So that's how you have to do it with investors. Is give them a story, a show, a process, and don't be afraid to be transparent. Don't let them be afraid to sit around and talk to other investors. Have an investor in the crowd, like Shar invested. Shar, can you tell them about your investment experience? Right? And then let other investors hear, oh, since I've invested with Dave, he's been keeping me up to date, he's been doing things like that. I mean, I could let Shar talk about it, but the idea is that you want investors to feel like they're part of a group. Black people are on the verge of exploding black investment.
Yeah.
Now, what do I mean by that? Let me turn the camera off in case the FBI is watching. what I mean by that is pre-2020, in investor communities around the world, we're an afterthought. Most people think of us as mass consumers. So they love to sell us. You get advertising for brand new movies in the middle of the hood. Now, how is somebody gonna put a brand new movie poster in the middle of the hood? Because we're consumers. And that's okay. That's the way we were taught. We never were given any infrastructure, never had a business attorney at your Thanksgiving table. But that's all changing. In the summer of discontent in 2020, everybody started to self-evaluate all the things that they're doing and started to say, can I buy a black-owned soap? Can I buy black-owned candles? What can I do to help other black businesses? And they started to look at investment. At the same time, equity crowdfunding comes along. So you now have a potential in a community that wants to help you. They want to, but they deserve the same treatment you would give a bank. They deserve to know these numbers because you don't underestimate them like, well, you know, I'm black, you're black, put money in. But people are more conscious than ever. I went to the Earn Your Leisure event here in Atlanta. I went to that InvestCon or something they call it. It was a mega church environment talking about investing. He's standing up like, where my stock traders back? Get it back, say what's up. You know, and I was just like, this is beautiful. You got thousands of black investors talking about investment terms. For me as a business attorney, I'm like, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, is that you now have black people attention, because before this, it was like go up to Buckhead, you need to go to the Buckhead clubs, you know, join a meeting, figure out, you know, meet some people up there. But now you have options. You have this place, you have this wonderful environment to put on presentations like this. You have Dave Walker, who's in the West Wing. You have water in case people get thirsty, right? You have a lot more things. You have people who are ready to listen, but they need to be, they're still greedy. Black people are just as greedy as everybody else, right? And they still need to know that you are a good steward of their money. They're gonna make more than they make in a savings account. They're gonna beat inflation, and that they're investing in the vehicle and the things that you're doing, the people you're hiring, is gonna carry them and their money to a good level, and they feel good about it. The biggest thing that we have from our investors is they told other people, I invested in this company. They still do it to this day, tag it on the Breakfast Club. That's our water. And they're happy because they're part of something bigger. So we can use this opportunity to really change your business. You're not too small. This applies whether you're asking for $5,000 or $500 million. It's the same principles. We just got to do a little extra work that we're not used to. And if any of this sound like you knew a little bit of it and you didn't, that's because you hadn't heard it from a business attorney. And you certainly hadn't heard it from a business attorney that looked like you, right? So the idea is that I'm here to tell you that this culture and this time, our race is ready to invest in small businesses. We have to meet them there. We have so many investors, but we don't have a lot of companies that's ready for investment. One last final note, Curl Mix. Go to wefunder.com if you haven't been to there. Curl Mix, heard about Curl Mix? Curlmix went on to WeFunder to raise money. They raised $5 million in 30 days. $5 million from small investors. I think it was like 15,000 investors. And I'm talking, $250, $100 each, because they have a great story. Curlmix. It's a black-owned hair company. I don't know what city I know. Yeah, they were on Shark Tank, took the money, didn't take the money, turned it down. But they raised money on that platform from a lot of people going, I got 250. I don't have, what they call an accredited investor in our business. That's if you are making more than 200,000 or have a net worth more than $1 million. You don't have to worry about securities rules. But with crowdfunding, who do all the security stuff for you, assuming you complete all their paperwork, they let you go out and now share to the world, hey, go to this platform and sign up. Now, we still have a lot of trust issues because you got to give your social security number, and it's not like buying, some water online. You got to give a little bit more information to invest. But it's a great platform to start off in and to get your business up on, if you find the right equity crowdfunding platform, to be able to get a little bit of money quickly. That $200,000 raised in about 3 months, and they wired it. As soon as it hits the account, they wire it to you in tranches. In 3 or 4 months, you get $200,000, minus their fees, of course. But it happens quickly. So I have another company that's thinking about doing it. They've been trying to raise money with investors, but they keep messing with their valuation. They say the company's worth $28 million. Been over it, over 6 months. Oh, we don't think it's worth that. We think it's 15. She threatens, I'm going to go to equity crowdfunding. And they all lose it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Why? Well, because if you do that, we can't invest later. But if you don't come to this valuation, we go into the crowdfunding, and we feel good that we'll get the money through crowdfunding.
What happened with Curlmix?
So Curlmix raised $5 million on the WeFunder platform through small investment. They closed out their round. I think I put 250 in or 300, and they did two things. They used their investors for investing, but they also sold them products. Now I get offered hair cream every other day on my phone and my emails, and I do the same thing in Positivity now. We sell our investors, and we tell them, hey, all of y'all should have subscriptions. Y'all are investors in the company. And they're, oh yeah, let me get a subscription. I am an investor. And that closed loop feeling is starting to happen in our community.
Okay, so that was actually, when you say that, that's actually one of the ways that I wanted to do funding. So I had a few major companies try to buy us. I did business with Study Legal actually try to purchase us. And at that point, I didn't understand the part of what you're saying is, what am I going to do with this money for? First, I told them this is a family business. I can't sell it to you. But as they offered me money, I was like, $50,000. I'm like, what?
Yes.
I'm running, we're doing business, so if I take your money, I'm just gonna be in debt. So we've been doing the bootstrap thing, which in a sense works, because we can see where our debt is.
But you got to jump
right,
level.
but we haven't been able to make those jumps. So as revenue increases, you hit a different season, you gotta put money in to stay with your vendors, to stay in wholesale markets. And so it's part of the challenge that I found is knowing what to ask for, and then knowing that, okay, here are the numbers I'm doing. The numbers look good, I will see you. That's fine, but then how now being seen is one thing, but having the capital to do a plan, to get equipment, to scale, is where the challenge comes in. So this equity crowdfunding is a game changer from that perspective. And I'm asking, with a product, having a product that you can do a subscription, right? Say, hey, we're going to offer you, every 6 weeks or every month or something. If you invest at this level, we'll deliver this to your house, or we'll deliver this to your business. Those kind of things. That's what got them to that next number. It's just having, because we have a product, we have products. These things you get, because I just didn't want to ask for money without having some kind of return.
The biggest thing that you're missing is your valuation. You haven't sat down and said, this is my valuation, because once you get your value of what your company is worth now, so you don't know if 50,000 is a lot or a little bit for you.
To me, it felt like it was gonna be a swamp. I didn't know.
And then the question is how do they want it back? Here's the thing that you should take away from this. We don't let investors tell us what they want to do.
Okay.
We tell them. So I'm glad you said no to everybody. You should. It's like Kroger going, just grab whatever you want in your grocery, and you get to the front, you just tell us what you want to pay. When investors come to you and throw numbers like that, I want to do this, you can't accept because you don't know. You come to the investor and go, no, I'm taking $100,000 for 10%. Here's the form. Call me if you need anything. You tell, that's why people get a lot of anxiety to get offers. But you got to tell people what you want. You know what you need. Listen, don't talk to me unless you're going to put in at least $100,000. I need $150. And here's how. So you got to put your price tag on your company and give it to people, and don't let them tell you what they would do.
Can you very quickly talk about a convertible note? You know, because as you said, I'm an investor, and based on my investment, I have a convertible note. And so can you just explain a convertible note?
Yeah, so you're going to hear a lot of complicated terms when it comes to investing. And one of the terms you might hear is a promissory note. That's just the loan. You might hear an investment or equity. That's just shares. But then they have hybrids. And convertible note is one. A convertible note is kind of what you use in that bridge financing section. Remember, I was like, okay, you might need to raise $40,000 and then raise some later. So the $200,000 we raised at Star Walker was what's called a bridge note, or a convertible note, the Shar says. What it does is it says to the investor, I'm going to borrow this money from you right now and let you have interest on it. But once I do my big fundraise, I'm going to convert you over. But if you let me borrow $100 now, and if I say I give you 12% next year when we do the fundraise, I'm going to let your $112, your $100 plus your 12% interest, convert in that fundraise. So now you earn an interest. So everybody who gave me that money is earning interest on their money right now. To when I complete the fundraise, they get to say, okay, Dave, your fundraise, you're selling $10 a share. Well, I put in $10,000, but now your $10,000 is worth $11,000. So we're going to give you $11,000 worth of stock as $10 per share. So what Shar did is essentially freeze her investment and earn interest on it until a point in which I raise the big money, in which case she'll then get a stock certificate. Like, Shar, your investment has now become official. The interest and all the money is converted over, and I'm giving you a stock. So whenever we raise the $22 million, you'll change from a note to a stock. So people go, well, how come you just don't pay back Shar, right? Just get the money and say, here, Shar, here's your money back, sorry. You can do that.
Plus interest.
Plus interest. And you can do that, and you can offer them that. Say, Shar, you know what, it's been a year, here's your $112, and then she gets the option. And we'll offer that to everybody. Here's your money back with interest. Do you want to keep going, stay at the table, or you want to walk away? We want to give people that option. But you have a lot of flexibility. Let me give you another example. You might be in a business in which if you give somebody 10%, they can't make their money back in a long time. You can do a hybrid. You can say, I'm going to give you a certain amount of money before 80% of our money is going to go to you first, and then 20% after you get to a certain return. So a lot of businesses might have a point where you can't really, the investor's not going to see a payback if they have to wait long term, but we can structure it to give them more upfront until they hit a certain ceiling, and then they go back down. There's a lot of flexibility when you get to that point. The key is, your issue is that you haven't internally created what you want, what you need, and then told people, this is what I'm doing. You will see a completely different result. They're like, oh, this is it? Yeah, this is it. Here's my attorney. Call him if you're ready. He has the paperwork. See you later. By the way, I got to go. I got to run the business. Always make sure you tell your investors you got to go, you got to run the business. Right? Don't let them forget that, hey, I'm running business right now, and this is going to happen with or without you. So I'm already comfortable. So you got that part down. That I'm already comfortable, I don't need your money. Now you want to leave them with something that makes them say, hey, I put the offer out there. Now, if they want to come back and say, can we have a call about your valuation? I'm open. What do why do you think it's high? Why do you think it's low? That's this business. And if they say, oh, I see you need 50, but I'm going to give you 5. Like, well, this ain't even worth my time, right? Because I need 50. You don't want to also have different offerings. You don't want to tell somebody, I'm going to give you 10% for $50,000, and then tell somebody over here, I'm going to give you 12% for $50,000, and tell somebody over here, you're going to give them 8%, and that's going to get you a lot of trouble in legal. So there's a lot of legal undertones about raising money outside of the equity crowdfunding platform that you need to be careful about.
And another question, I heard you say it's easy, and I heard someone else say this. You said it's easier to raise more money than less money. Can you speak on that for a moment?
Yeah, think about it this way. If you went to go raise $100 in this room, this is probably a good room for it. Everybody might have $5 or $20. But if you needed $50,000, this might not be the rest room for it. Why? Because the people who can put the money in are not in this room. Now, if you go to a room that has $50,000, they're not attracted to $50,000 though. They're like, okay, you're here, but I'm really looking for $100,000, right? So everybody wants to always level up. So when you get into the big investment world, you know that investors, so let me give you a breakdown from the investor point of view. I have $100,000 in my account. I come into this room and I see that this person needs $20,000, right? So I can give him $20,000, and this person needs 30. I give this person 30, I give this person 30. And then I look at my portfolio, And I'm like, man, he's gonna take 4 years, she's gonna take 3 years, he's gonna take 5 years, and this is how I'm gonna get my money back, in this room. But then I walk into another room where there's 15 other Dave Walkers, and they all have 100,000, and they're all putting their money in to put it into the $15 million startup act. And now the 15 million startup act is going to go public in 2 or 3 years. I would much rather take my 100,000 and put it into that pool, because they are part of a much bigger pool that I know can't fail, than be the lead investor for 5 or 6 small companies. So a lot of times what I say is, when you raise your level of money, it raises the stakes for the investor to make more money. I'm not gonna make that much money off of 3 or 4 investments at 10 or 12%. But in that room, they're trying to make my 100,000 turn into 3 million in the next 2 years. So what I'm saying is that if the bigger, you gotta think from the investor side. If I'm just gonna make what I can get at a bank, so you gotta try to always go a level up higher in what you need, into more room where people have want big returns. So if you get into that room, they're like, show me the returns. You know, the greed factor is higher. And then it's literally, because you can spend the same energy reviewing smaller companies that you do big companies. So if I got to review your company, your company, your company, and then I'm on the end of the day going to make, you know, a little bit of money over 4 or 5 years, versus, hey, that fund already did the research, they putting in 2 million, I could throw 100,000 on top of that, and now I can make my money too. So you're fighting against people who want to make a lot of money in investing. Those are your chips. Now you still can get small investors for small things. That's why we talked about equity crowdfunding today, because that's where you would go to get a bunch of small investors. Okay? You don't go to equity crowdfunding and get major investors. All right, I saw the time is up, but I asked all the questions I could.
And David, one last question, if people want to get in touch with you and want more information.
Oh, I have this up here. So, Navigate FC, the SBA actually did something very interesting. They paid to have professional service providers offer services to small businesses. It's called the Navigator Program. They just launched it in the end of December. They essentially paid Fulton County, who essentially paid South Fulton Chamber of Commerce, to pay professional service providers to offer real services to real business owners. Not through another hub or not through another nonprofit, but directly. I'm actually one of the service providers listed under Navigate FC. So if you go in there, you'll see a video. You'll see this video about Are You Investor Ready? You'll see another video about general business practices. But if you sign up under Navigate FC, you'll start to see some one-on-one sessions available for you from me. And that's a 1-hour session where I talk to you one-on-one like you're a client. It's not a sale, it's not anything else. So I encourage everybody to go to Navigate FC and register for the videos that I have there. You automatically will get the emails. They have marketing people in there, financing. They'll give you an hour, half hour for free. And these are real businesses. These aren't like, SCORE or retired professionals, stuff like that. These are real businesses offering marketing, financial services to real business owners. So Navigate FC, I'm a member of that, or I'm what they call a spoke. There's a hub, which is South Fulton, and the spokes are all the service providers. You guys are the tires. I'm a spoke. I offer legal services through that. So please visit Navigate FC, register for the online videos. You'll see the investor video there. You'll see the one-on-one video, and then I'll let you register for upcoming one-on-one sessions that I'm offering.
Y'all know I saw that phone fall and I felt like it was my phone.
That's the worst feeling in the world.
First of all, thank you so much, David. Did y'all get what y'all needed?
Yes.
$1 million worth of gain.
Honestly, so I'm super glad that David was able to, come by, give this information to us. If you haven't been able to try his water yet, Positivity, make sure you grab a bottle on the way out. It's tasty. I drink it often. We keep it in our office, so definitely make sure you get some of that. Just to remind you guys what's coming up next here with the Village at Pittsburgh Yards. So this Thursday, we have our women's only event. I'm speaking just to the ladies right now, but it's Women Working Well couch combos. If you have been a part of the Village with our Elevate program, Dr. Joy will be there, Chris Smith will be there. We're talking everything about burnout. We're talking about professionalism, and we're talking about being there for our sisters. So it's gonna be a really, really great event. That was gonna be pretty exciting, actually. You know, the lady, I love that. And also our next event, the first event of April, we have our community mixer with Gangsters the Growers. They are celebrities.